Hi there, Kesicki here from QuantumQuest.com, and today I'm really excited to bring you a new video called Hacking into the Mind for Success, which is exactly what we do at QuantumQuest.com. And I have to tell you that I believe that each and every one of you has the ability to achieve massive success in any area of your life if you have the belief system and the strategies in order to do it. But before we get started, I want to ask you a question, because if I asked 100 different people what success means to them, I'd probably get maybe 60 or 70 different answers. So before we start hacking into anybody's mind, I'd like to know exactly what success means to you. So what does success mean to you? Owning a great business, owning cars, boats, planes, homes? Do you want to travel the world? A great relationship, amazing girlfriend or boyfriend? Perhaps to get married and have a great family. Perhaps to get rid of the family you already have. I don't know, I've heard everything up till this point. Better health, a great body, total fitness. A great love life, a career that inspires you, amazing hobbies that you love. Perhaps you want to learn to play a musical instrument, or take up painting or sculpting, or another one of the fine arts. Perhaps you want to become a great opera singer, or maybe become the next American Idol. Perhaps you want to become an actor or a director and direct the greatest movie of all time. Do you want to write a novel or a classic that will be read 100 years from now? Do you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, a scientist that finally cures cancer, or some other disease that would make the world a better place? Do you wish you had more time to do the things you love? Or do you just wish you had more time just to live? Do you want to become a great speaker, a writer, maybe a poet? Do you want to develop amazing self-confidence or higher self-esteem? Or develop an amazing connection with your higher source? Would you like to learn to paint? Maybe see your work hanging in a famous gallery or museum one day. Perhaps you want to donate your time to a great cause. Or perhaps just one day you want to be the first person to step on Mars or travel to a faraway planet at a distant galaxy. Perhaps you just want to be comfortable. You see, success means different things to different people, but the strategies for success are all the same. Did anyone say success is having more money? Many of us jump on the word money, and that's okay. In fact, when I was 5 years old, my relatives asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I said, be rich, of course, which always drew a laugh and sort of confused me, because I thought, why wasn't rich something I could be? When you get right down to it, is money what any of us really wants anyway? Or is it just a tool to get the things that we really desire? Don't get me wrong. Money is awesome, especially if you don't have any. At the end of the day, isn't money just a piece of paper that we've grown accustomed to trade for the things that we really want? God forbid you only had an hour left to live. What would you do with all the money in the world? I bet you trade it all just for a little bit more time. Okay, welcome back. So you can see there are many definitions of success. And the one thing that's really important to remember, that what you deem to be successful in one area of your life, or one portion of your life, when say you're younger and you're branching out and you're starting your career, or just getting your first home or getting your first car is really important to you. At different parts of your life or later parts in your life, success may be different to you. When you in your later part of your life, success may be having free time and money to just enjoy your grandchildren, or have a vacation home, or be able to do things that, are peaceful, things that you want. But regardless of what success means to you, there's one thing that's really critical for you to understand, is that the limitations that keep you from achieving success in one area of your life are going to be the same exact limitations for achieving success in another area of your life. So if you wrote down a definition of, say, maybe 100 definitions of what success means for you, and you're having challenges in achieving success in areas, say, number 3, 5, and 7, you're probably going to have problems in many other areas as well. And the reason for that is that we're programmed for success and also for failure at a very young age in our lives, while our unconscious mind is being programmed. And you may be frightened to hear this, but the reality is, by the time you're 5 or 6 years old, we're already programmed for success or failure in our lives based on what's happened to us up until that point. So I'm going to switch over to my Blackboard in a second, and I want to give you some bad news, and I'm going to give you some great news. The bad news is that probably over 90% of us are programmed for failure at the very young age of 4 or 5 or 6 years old, and we reference those references throughout our lives. So a lot of times we have problems with success in various areas of our lives is because we didn't have the knowledge when we were 5 years old when our unconscious mind was being programmed. So I'm going to switch over to the board now. I want to give you the anatomy of what success and failure looks like inside the unconscious mind, and then I'm going to give you the ultimate success formula and how we hack into our mind at any age, whether you're 10, 15, 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100 years old, how we can go in and change the formula for success that might have been formulated when you were only 5 years old. I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I got my Blackboard for you. And I draw you a little baby, so I hope it looks like a little child to you. The point I want to make here is that success and failure all start here at a very young age. And the reason that is because when you're born, we really don't know much about anything other than we're laying there in bed and somebody puts food in our mouth and somebody changes our diaper. But if you can remember back when you were very little, what is the most prevalent thing that you heard over and over again, maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 times? No. 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 No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. When I grew up, I remember asking my mom all the time, how come I couldn't do something? And my mom would normally say, because I told you so. So as we grow up as children, as we grow up as young children, for the most part, we're told we can't do this and we can't do that. And a lot of times there may be a reason. Sometimes parents give us a reason, but usually no usually means no. Now, telling a child no is not a problem, but oftentimes children are told that they can't do things because they're not good enough. And the parent may not necessarily say to them, no, little Tommy, you can't do this because you're not good enough, but they're just told that they can't do it for one reason or another. And our unconscious mind is sort of like a ginormous database that will fill and fill and fill throughout our entire life. So it's unconscious mind. Now, what's interesting and what's really cool about our unconscious mind is that we have two minds. We have our unconscious mind and we have our conscious mind. Our unconscious mind is 1,000 times stronger, you probably heard this before from me in other videos, than our conscious mind, and it controls just about everything that we do. Here's the kicker. Our unconscious mind primarily develops prior to the age of 5 years old. So from the ages of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we are filling our unconscious mind with almost like a database full of junk, full of garbage, full of no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, no, you're not good enough, you can't wear those shoes, you can't wear that, you can't do this doesn't look right, this doesn't look right. Now look, every child doesn't grow up this way, but many of us do. Matter of fact, as you know, I'm pretty much a self-proclaimed seminar junkie. I've heard statistics that up to 99% of us believe that in one way or another, we are not good enough at one thing or another. So as we progress beyond the childhood stage of 5 years old and we grow up to be an adult, we still start referencing back this very powerful unconscious mind where we're told that we're not good enough at this or we're not good enough at that. Now, guess what happens when we grow up and we get big? We're constantly referencing our unconscious mind with our conscious mind. Now, our conscious mind is very small and very, I don't want to say it's insignificant, but it's insignificant in regards to the amount of power and the amount of processing that the conscious mind has. So we're constantly doing checks and balances and references to the unconscious mind that was developed primarily when we were told no. So I'm going to switch boards in a minute, so I'm going to switch screens for you. But when we talk about hacking the mind for success, What I'm talking about is I'm talking about going into the portions of the mind through neuro-linguistic programming, neurostrategies, also known as NLP, also known as hypnosis, also is exactly what we do in Quantum Quest, is we go into the portions of the mind where we believe they were not good enough to achieve in certain areas, which become cross-contextual to other areas. If you remember, I said to you earlier that if we believe that we can't be successful in one area, we usually believe that we can't be successful in another area, and it's because we have this old wiring, this old antiquated programming. Those of you who are old enough to remember Windows 95, you know, when we got to Windows 2000, that was like a big deal. Well, Windows 2000 was 14 years ago, and Windows 95 was almost 20 years ago. Some of you might be listening to this window may be like, ha, I don't even know what Windows 95 is. Well, if you're 50 years old, guess what you're running? You're running a version of Windows 1963, 1964. So if you're trying to achieve success in a specific area of your life today that requires technology, requires a better grasp or a more advanced grasp on something in your life, and you're running program with old technology, it's time for an upgrade. So the good news is that I got it for you. So I'm going to switch screens for you in a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back. You see I had to move because the sun was moving and I've been being chased around the yard most of the afternoon. But anyway, we'll get started. So how do we hack the mind? Now, it might sound like a fancy word, and it may not be something you'd hear in your doctor's office, but I want to give you an analogy that you may be able to understand, and at least you probably heard of it if you don't even know somebody it actually happened to. Do you know, or have you heard of somebody, or do you know somebody who has ever had a stroke? Well, what happens when we have a stroke? Well, remember that we have inside our unconscious mind a lot of information that goes back from the very, very time you were born. And in that information is stored everything that you're able to do. Like one of those things happens to be walk. When you learned how to walk, all the nuances of walking, from the first step to the wobble to actually being able to understand that the feet had the ability and the arms and the body, until, you know, in a matter of no time, well, I'm not sure how much time is no time when you're trying to learn how to walk, but relatively quickly, a child learns how to walk. All of that information is stored in the unconscious mind. Now, what happens when an individual has a stroke and part of the brain gets damaged? And that part of the brain gets erased. Well, we have a situation where an individual, in particular case of walking, if that part of the brain was damaged, they may not be able to walk anymore. Sometimes people lose their eyesight. Sometimes people lose their ability to speak. Sometimes people lose mobility in various parts of their body. It doesn't matter. It could be a combination of everything. But what I'm trying to impress on you is that programming, pre-existing knowledge, pre-existing learned data was taken out. So if we could take out data, then we can also put data in. And not only we can put data in, we can actually go in and erase data, overwrite data, or minimize the data that's in there and replace it with something else. So how do we do this? Well, it's fairly simple and complex at the same time, depending on how you want it to be for you. But I'll give you an analogy of, say, whitewater rafting. I'm just picking that because it's something I've done recently. If you never ever whitewater rafted before, you know, you can go over these amazing, cavernous waterfalls, and the water's really cold, and you're moving really fast, and it's like almost trying to hang on to a horse if you've tried horseback riding before. And it could be almost an exciting, exhilarating, almost a violent experience at times, especially if you end up upside down under the water and the water's bubbling over you. But the thing is that a lot of these experiences happen rapidly. They happen this quick. Like, for example, when you're going whitewater rafting, usually there's one or two major rapids or one or two major falls. And I remember just looking back at some pictures a couple of weeks ago of me going over the fall, and all I can remember is having my eyes closed tight and just Can't wait for it to be over. So that's an experience. That's an event that happens in our lives that becomes programming. Now, do you think that that would be a big part of programming or a small part of programming inside my mind, since I closed my eyes as hard as I could? It only lasted for a second and I couldn't wait for it to be over. Well, it was exciting and I'll probably remember for the rest of my life, but I'll tell you what I can't remember. I can't remember any details of that experience. However, this is how we overwrite or create a new program in our mind. If I were to sit down, which I've done, and taken that 1 second, or let's call it a 2-second experience, and now replay it in my mind, but this time I'm going to elicit all of my senses, my ability to see, my ability to hear, my ability to taste, my ability to touch, my ability to feel. These are our primary 5 senses. And slow down that whitewater rafting going over the falls where I could almost like take snapshots, almost like I was doing a video. But this time, see what I saw, feel what I felt, hear what I heard, feel the cold water rushing upon me, feel the wind, see the trees that obviously went by, but I didn't see them because my eyes were closed. Look at the faces of the friends that are around me that were on that trip. Look at the clothes that I was wearing. Look down and see the water swishing back and forth inside the boat. If you're starting to understand where I'm going with this, we can recreate an experience in our life that didn't even exist, because the unconscious mind has the ability it doesn't understand the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. So if the unconscious mind doesn't understand, because it's really only a program, what's vividly imagined and what's real, then why not go in and make a very real experience? I'm not writing anything, I'm just giving you an example of filling in data. And this data would be of an experience that I'd like to have but didn't have yet, utilizing my sight. What am I seeing? My hearing. What am I hearing? What am I feeling? Like, what are the stimuluses of the air? If it's cold water, what does that feel like? What am I tasting? Imagine what it tastes like to feel that water from the whitewater rafting splashing in my mouth. And what am I touching? Like, what am I feeling around me? And here's the thing. I have the ability in a moment to actually stop time. I can freeze frame it. I can make it brighter, more vivid. I can make it louder. I can make it clearer. I can go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. I can change the sound. I could play my favorite music. I can create an experience. You can create an experience right now, and I challenge you to do that as soon as the tape is over. I'd like you to create an experience in your mind that has not happened yet, and play it over and over again, bright, colorful, loud, exciting, be outrageous. Have an experience that is completely outrageous, and then see how you feel after that. Matter of fact, after you go through that visualization, when you stand up and I want you to go, yes! Now, if you were to do that experience with yourself, say, I don't know, once a day, every day for the next 3 weeks, in regards to something like being excited about getting up and going to create a better body for yourself, or being excited about going and doing something that you normally prefer not to do, you start to create an exciting experience and really visualize creating it to be how you like to see it to be rather than what it is. So if you have a yucky job or something like that, imagine it be having an inspiring job, because the things that we create in our lives now, the things that we create right now, those thoughts, they create emotions, and those emotions create our experiences in the future. So when you look out into the future and you say, well, I like to have this, and I like to have that, and I want this, and I want that, none of that is created in the future. The future doesn't exist. Neither does the past. Only now exists. So when you do this creative visualization in your mind, where you're making things bright, colorful, exciting, vibrant, you're making them happen now, and by replaying them over and over again and even stopping time, you're changing a mental experience, and you're actually placing in your unconscious mind an experience that didn't exist until you created it. Now, I can't go into this in full detail because my program, QuantumQuest.com, is pretty much what we're talking about here, except that we go a much deeper level. And I'm just going to give you a little bit hint. In quantumquest.com, we're talking about an additional element. So we have mind, body, we call it the Trinity, and we have spirit. Now, everything we talked about in this particular video is talking about mind and body. But when you start looking at quantumquest.com and you start seeing what I'm really teaching you there, imagine taking this and then uploading these experiences to our spiritual side, our higher self, and then have our higher self project back down onto ourselves the experience that it is actually creating for us. So without blowing your mind too much and without getting any more deeper into this, because I've gone too deep already, check me out on quantumquest.com and look for me on YouTube. I'm going to do a video actually today, so you'll probably see the both of them, called Duality, or look for a video called Duality or Spiritual Purification. Also this weekend, I'm going to be doing an in-depth video explanation of what Quantum Quest exactly is. I have a friend of mine coming in, she's going to interview me, and you'll get a better understanding. But just from what I showed you now here, you have amazing power and ability to do the things that you want in your life if you just know how to utilize the principles of the unconscious mind, and anybody can do it, I promise you. So look for me on quantumquest.com, and thank you for your time.